Hi guys, so I do have a special guest. Now it looks, now you can see its full beauty. Because it's not supposed to go from the side, it's supposed to be there. Anyways, get yourself a man that loves you completely and utterly, else it's not gonna work out. Anyways, so this is the special guest, and I'll just put it out here. That's gonna work. It matches my couch as well. It just matches, and it has like a love note on the. Can you see that? Anyways, I'm not gonna lie. It has been poor planning because I should be in bed now. Yes, it's daylight outside, but I do wake up extremely early, and I did record a few videos that I'm not gonna post because they just don't represent me. Did I mention the weather? And this week has been tough. However, I do want to speak about just why Computer Angel, because I always felt so pretentious telling people my Instagram username is the Computer Angel, but it's not a persona, rather it's a way of living. I have notes here. Everyone that records videos has notes and scripts, and that's something I had to realize the hard way because I was stuttering and stuff like that. But the day I came up with Computer Angel, guess what I was doing? I was leaving the gym after a workout, and at that point I was in university for computer science, and although I didn't like university per se, I was always a computer girl. Growing up, I was on a computer at 4 years old. My dad made me play thinking games, and computers never really were absent from my life, so it just traveled along with me through the good and bad. And there was a point where I did spend a lot of time on computers to drown out life and noise as teenagers do, but I also realized that it's not that I realized, it's just that I known that it wasn't good for me. I felt like, I don't know how else to explain it besides I needed some friction in my thoughts, actual thinking, and being on the computer playing virtual games and talking to people online and not do anything productive always was very frictionless. I think it's because of the thinking games when I was 4 years old, but I always need some sort of friction. I'm not sure whether it's like a sort of addiction to stress, but me enjoying the gym might explain that as well. Yeah, Computer Angel is sort of the name I ended up giving to a contradiction within myself. I think you guys know The Fig Theory by Sylvia Plath. That's how I felt. I felt like I had to pick and choose, but I was always a jack of all trades. And if I hyperfixate on things, I analyze them. I'm very analytical but creative at the same time. The more I analyze myself, comparing my skills to the pros, and for example with art, I'd look at realism artists and see exactly how they hold their pen, how they do their strokes, and I tried to copy that exactly by the way they hold the pencil, the way they pull the brush. There's a technique to everything, and I was an artist before I was a writer and before I went into programming, so that's my background. I was always the kid drawing in a notebook or doing these loom bands, and I even made like a pencil, not a pencil case, a phone bag that you can put across your shoulder and put your phone into it out of loom bands. That's what I did during my school breaks. Yeah. Computer Angel isn't an aesthetic, it's just the name I gave to the contradiction that I lived in. I always felt like I had to choose and pick a lane between technology and nature, logic, creativity, and just putting myself into a box. That's something that I couldn't do. It's made me almost sick. Like I had to pick between building externally or building myself. But at the end of the day, building externally has to build yourself in some form or another. It cannot just be a quiet action, such as drawing and reading. It has to be something like truly physical. I see communication as physical, sales, connecting is physical, running is physical, although lots of sports people are in their head when they work out. However, if you notice the stereotype of a jock in movies and stuff like that, they're very outgoing. They know how to live in the materialistic world. And that's what I didn't know how to do since I was always on computers talking to people online. And that's why I went into sales and just threw myself in there. But we spoke about that, and this is about something else. After the gym one day, I was like, I need a new Instagram because I was off Instagram completely. And then I only had a private account for friends and family. And then I was like, maybe we should start businessing, marketing. Because I write code during the day. I lift weights before work. I wake up at 4 a.m. to go to the gym, lift weights, do cardio if it's a cardio day, cardio on rest days always. And I love spending my time in the nature as well. It just relaxes me. If you had to force me to pick something like Dubai and a little hut in a forest, I'll be choosing the hut in a forest. However, each has their benefits. There's no doubt in that. What else did I write? I build software meant to extend what people can do, and then at some point I close the laptop and remember that the first machine I'm actually responsible for is my body. It's the one I'm standing in, and that's all Computer Angel is about. Not some belief that technology should replace humanity, but the opposite. I think we need to become more capable as people to use technology without quietly losing yourself. And that's exactly what I felt like. It felt like I was losing myself by being immersed in the virtual world. And actually, I'm gonna leave Angel Bite piece here. I might republish it on Substack, but it was the first published piece that was published by somebody else. And little shout out to Dakota Warren. Welcome back. I have some more storage in my phone, so I'll just go where we stopped. And there's right now an assumption that the future means becoming more machine, and in a certain sense that's true. However, humans are at the intersection of nature and machine. That doesn't mean we're gonna become cyborgs or anything like that, but that's exactly why I'm into bodybuilding. I love being a machine like that, sculpting myself, and just not necessarily, I was gonna say silicone and plastic, but not 2026 silicone and plastic. I mean, computer silicone and plastic. That's not the future of humanity. And this is exactly what the gym taught me, as I explained. I think the people who do well going forwards are the ones who become more human. And that's what I'm trying to do. Bodybuilding, by writing, by building things that solve my problems. And when I solve my problems, I end up solving the problems of others. You have to connect to yourself, but at the same time, like, my concept of self has completely dissolved. I'm still myself, but I don't think of myself and just myself. When I think of myself, I think of how can I provide for the world in a way that provides for me and my heart. And that's how we move forwards. Computer Angel is all about leverage. Use the leverage you have. Don't be too humble. If you're rich, you're rich. Use that. But at the same time, just use any leverage you have, because that's what's being given to you on a silver platter. But if that's not connected to your purpose, to you fueling the world, and in turn the world fuels you, you won't live a fulfilled life. And that's how I feel. And I started posting because I don't think I will ever have it figured out. I always postponed posting until I'm fitter, look better, have more knowledge, more structure to myself. But each time I have progressed, I always regretted not documenting it. And although I didn't expect myself to progress, I did. And I don't necessarily expect myself to progress now, but I'm working towards that. Expect nothing but hope for the best and prepare for the worst. That's what my dad always told me. Prepare for the best. No, prepare for the worst, hope for the best. But I just have the tools and always hope for the best. And I would say, more of an optimist when it comes to things. Of course, I'm not gonna lie. We all have our pessimistic moments, but I do feel like being a logical optimist will get you further in life. Because if you're optimistic, you're open to things. I wanna know where the word optimistic comes from, because it reminds me of being open, optimistic, optic, eyes, optimistic. See, this is exactly how I connect things. It might not even be true, but you can still create something from that. Like optic, optimistic. You can play around with words and question yourself the way I'm questioning myself now. And that's how you build connections and build. A lot of the ideas you're gonna have are gonna be shit, completely shit. But the shit ideas lead you to the good ideas. Like, for example, I've built a lot of shit software and just things that don't look good and don't work well on, but it led me to creating the things I actually use. It's definitely a trial and error, but without failures, you will never reach your goals. Even at the gym, you fail a lift, what do? Do you just leave the gym after failing a lift? If it's like a PR, I understand, but if you're working out to failure, it's literally in the name. Work out to failure until you fail, and then rest, and then come back again. That's how it works in business and maths. Even if you're just a scholar that goes to university, work until you fail. Rest and come back. The rest is more important than you think, because if you keep failing and failing and failing with no rest, your muscles will tear you, your bones will snap, and if you don't think that's gonna happen with your mental state, I have some bad news for you. Yeah, Computer Angel isn't an aesthetic, it's a philosophy, and it's a philosophy I had to build for myself in order to create a box I put myself in instead of other people putting me into their own boxes. Yeah, and just a little reminder, if you're out there building things and still trying to not lose yourself in the process, you're probably already closer to that than you think. The bar is set extremely low because people don't believe in themselves. A lot of the time, if people believed in themselves, it would switch. Belief with consistency, with effort, with analysis. You need to analyze yourself against the best. I'm sure there was a basketball player or a football player that did that for himself. I'm not sure now, but it works. Don't compare yourself in a sense where, oh, they're so much better than me, I cannot do shit, blah blah blah. But more in a sense where you analyze their techniques and apply it to yourself. That's how you compare, and that's how I judge. I judge others in order to analyze. It's not judging them, it's judging the actions they're doing and see whether I want it for myself. There's perceiving and judging if you're into the MBTI, and I haven't looked into it for so long, the personality tests, but now that I think about it, I think it's perceiving and judging that are like the opposites, and perceiving is more passive. Judging is more, it takes more of you to do that. And a lot of people do judge in a negative manner, but if you're MBTI judging whatever, you can use that judgment in a way that benefits you and others, in a way that does not tear people down. Nice. They do smell very, very nice. I always liked the computer glow. Like each time I took a selfie, even on my profile picture on Instagram, it has the computer glow, but I also like to change it in a way where it glows more yellow and more human rather than just white. I do love who I'm becoming. Like, that's just a realization I had now. Another thing I've noticed, I like using a lot of filler words. And my last video, I said however so many times I had to cut it out. But recording yourself does give you the insight into what you have to improve your communication structure, because you don't see yourself communicating with other people. You just see how others perceive you, and that can be an indicator, but you cannot analyze yourself in real life.